met somebody from the Kargil War. How was
Yes,
that?
the soldier, Captain Naveen Nagappa. He fought in the Kargil War. He almost died. He was hiding in a bunker and shooting at the enemy. The enemy threw a bomb at him and he realized it was going to burst in 6 seconds. He picked up the bomb, he threw it back, and look at his luck, it hit the stone and came rolling back. So the bomb exploded. He looked at his legs and his legs were completely destroyed. Pakistani soldiers, they came with their guns to shoot him. And at that point, Captain Vikram Batra came, pulled him out of the bunker while shooting at the enemies. Okay, on the show, I have Mickey Mouse with me. Mickey Mouse, how are you doing? And then Mickey Mouse would be, oh, hi, I'm Mickey Mouse. Oh, I'm doing great. What is the cost of a sperm? Rupees. How did you get into this? Need a sperm donor. Would you like to donate? How can you ask me such a question about a guy who looks like Shahrukh Khan? It's like Kaho Na Pyar Hai. He went to see KKR versus Gujarat Titans. Sab taaliyan baja rahe. Hey, Shahrukh Khan is there. It became so crazy at the stadium that he had to leave. He had to call the police. And when the police got him out of the stadium, the police were like, "Sir, ek selfie, ek autograph." So that's how crazy his life is. I spoke to this blind couple, and the boy told me, "I'm dating the most beautiful girl because I know her soul. When I talk to her, I really do feel she's listening to me." Tune into my show tomorrow at 7 o'clock again.
Hello and welcome back to yet another episode of my podcast. Today we have with us another amazing speaker, and I'm very sure this conversation is going to be very fun and funny. So to introduce a little, we have Shannon. Hi, Shannon.
Hi.
And also Shannon has a double N in Shannon, which I just discovered. Also, Shannon has a great surname. Can you please pronounce it?
Shannon Court.
No, it's not.
Shannon Ridgecourt.
Yeah, a rich surname. So we'll have a lot of amazing conversations about all the new people, new or old people that Shannon has met, and he's also been an ex-radio producer for Fever FM, and we'll get to know a lot new things about that as well. So just start a little. Shannon, can you please introduce a little about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, apart from being extremely good-looking, talented, charming, humorous, and humble.
Yeah.
I've been an ex-radio producer. I've been a storyteller with Humans of Bombay.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to find my way as a freelancer. I would say at my core, I'm a producer. I love stories. I love interacting with people. And I like sharing meaningful stories, putting them out into the world. Hopefully, the stories that I've written and that I will write, the things that I'll do in the future, they'll help motivate people. I think that's my goal in life.
That is amazing. And I'm so intrigued to know more about the whole radio thing, because even I want to know what a radio producer does. And I think a lot of people do not eventually have an idea about it, right? So what is a radio producer and what does they do?
So people think the RJs are the stars.
Yeah.
And of course, they'll have that perception because they hear the RJ's voice. But the radio producer is like somebody who does all the background work. Now, what is the job of an RJ? An RJ is supposed to entertain you, is supposed to help the listeners feel heard, feel understood. He talks to them. He makes a story interesting. Now, what does a radio producer do? He helps give the content to the RJ to make that content interesting.
Okay.
Now, for example, I used to produce the evening show at Fever FM in Bangalore. So that means my show would go live between 5 to 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Now, what would the listeners like listening to at 5 o'clock? What would the listener like listening to at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock? That content was up to me. I'd have to find that content. So maybe at 5 o'clock, they'd like to know what the score is. India is taking on Australia. Is India winning? Is India losing? At 6 o'clock, they'd like to know maybe, is it raining in this side of town in Bangalore? Because at 6 o'clock, it's rush hour. People are wanting to go home. So I can give you information. Okay, it's raining in this part. There's potholes on this road. Don't go there. Take this route. You'll get home faster. That's the information maybe they'd want at 6 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, they're back home. They're probably relaxed. Probably they're listening to the radio. So I'll probably bring on a guest. Now, which guest should I bring on? It depends. What's trending in the day? What's on the news? Probably I'll get somebody to discuss that. Maybe I'll bring on someone that's very interesting. Then at 8 o'clock, what would people like listening to while they're having dinner? So, I have a lot to think about. A radio producer is the brains behind the show, behind a radio show. So they come up with the content, they come up with the campaigns, they come up with the sweeps. Yes, these are very technical terms that I'm using, but basically they are the people who make the show what it is. They give the content to the radio jockey, and the radio jockey makes that content interesting and say, tune into my show tomorrow at 7 o'clock again. So they are recognized as the stars, but I think the real stars are the radio producers who sit at the back. It's like watching a theater production, right? The actors get all the applause, but somebody makes the sets. Somebody's come up with the idea to make the sets, right? Somebody has put together the costumes, the budget to help the play get produced and financed. All of that is the radio producer's job.
Especially the script, right? The script of the theater that goes behind. And I had no idea that RJs were not the people who were writing or speaking it out like spontaneously. I honestly thought that the RJs are the super cool people, who have who has this amazing vibe and they make everything so interesting. I had no idea ki radio producer kya hota and what do they actually do.
Yeah, that's true. Even I didn't know that because, when I got a job at this radio station, I thought like, wow, I'm going to be on the mic and I'm going to talk and everyone's going to know me and I'm going to be super famous. But then I realized like, whoa, I have a lot of work, and yeah, it's not that the RJs aren't spontaneous. They, like I said, I give them the content, they make it spontaneous. It's their job to make the content interesting. At the end of the day, as a listener, you want to be entertained, right? Like, whole day you spent in office, think about it. And then 5 o'clock, you're like, gosh, I don't want to listen to my boss anymore. Yeah. So if I'm going to lecture you on the radio, you're not going to like it, right? You're going to switch channels. So it's my job to entertain you, right? I remember this one time, we had one person who called our radio station. And he said, I'm having such a terrible day. My boss shouted at me and work is not going well and I'm just in one of those terrible moods, and we had a contest going on air. And so I told him, I said, you know what, since you're having such a terrible day, I'm going to make your day by making you win this contest. You don't have to compete or do anything. You're the winner of this contest because you're having such a bad day. And he said, wow, you've made my day. So you see, it's my idea to tell the RJ, hey, look, why don't you make him the winner? Because he just had a bad day. So the RJ makes it interesting by saying, you're the winner of this contest and you've won this gift, and we're going to make your day because you've had such a terrible day. So you see, I give the idea, but it's the RJ's job to present that idea and to make the listener feel heard and appreciated.
Amazing. I'm sure with this whole new knowledge that we had, a lot of people might actually get to know what a radio producer is and what they do actually, right? So another question that I had was, how did you get into this radio producer's job? Like, I don't think this was your 10th class motivation.
No, actually, I've always loved cartoons and characters from pop culture, okay? Yeah. And I'm quite a good mimic.
Okay.
So when I was in journalism college, I didn't really resonate with a lot of the assignments that I was being given. So there was one assignment that I did like very much, which was to create a podcast. Now, it could only be audio. There was no video podcast. And I was like, wow, this is so interesting. They said you could make it on anything. Now, I'm like, I used to do theater in school and I used to miss doing theater. And I was in journalism college, so I was all very serious and all of that. So I was like, I'm going to make a podcast where I'm going to imitate characters from pop culture and I am only talking to those characters.
Okay.
So, for example, I did something like, okay, on the show I have Mickey Mouse with me. Mickey Mouse, how are you doing? And then Mickey Mouse would be, oh, hi, I'm Mickey Mouse. Oh, I'm doing great. So something like that. And then I'd tell Bean, Bean from Batman. Bane, I went to Delhi and there's so much of pollution everywhere. what do you have to say about it? And then Bean would be like,
the air pollution in Delhi has forced me into wearing a mask.
so I created a podcast like that where I came up with these imaginary characters and I only interviewed them. And I loved the process very much. And when I put out the podcast, all my classmates, they said, this is so unique and you sound like an RJ. And I'm like, really? And I had no idea what an RJ was or what radio producing was, nothing. So I said, this is great. So after I finished college, I had no idea what I wanted to do because, like I said, I didn't resonate with the assignments. I didn't know whether I wanted to be a serious journalist. So I took this podcast and I sent it to almost every RJ in the country. I'm like, please, I need a job. I'm desperate. So one of those RJs from Radio 1, he heard it and said, hey, we have the job of a radio producer. I'm like, great, I'll join. He's like, no. It's really back-breaking work. Be careful. You don't know what you're signing up for. No, I'll do it. And that's how I got into radio. So it was, I don't know, I think luck played a big part in it. If it wasn't for that assignment, probably I would have never done radio.
Yeah, right. But for how long were you there in that job?
2.5 years.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
a long time.
Actually, what happened was when COVID came in, people stopped listening to the radio because when do you listen to the radio?
Yeah.
Usually when you're traveling, you're in your car. And COVID put everybody at home. And therefore, there were a lot of layoffs happening. I would have never left radio because I loved it. I love interacting with people. But I unfortunately got laid off. So that is why it's only 2.5 years. But I wish I could have stayed much longer.
Yeah.
And now, with podcasts and everything coming in, radio, I wouldn't say it's dying, but it has to evolve. And I think podcast is the evolution of radio.
Wow. So I actually had this question next, that what do you think is the relevance of radios and say, because again we consume it mostly when we are traveling, and I think वो अब वो और कम हो गया है.
That is true, but it doesn't mean that, radio doesn't have its uses. Now, maybe the numbers have gone down, but it doesn't mean that it still can't be useful. So I like to look at it that way. For example, the radio will tell you, don't go in this direction. There's a lot of potholes. It's raining here. There's construction happening here. If you go this way, you can actually catch the metro. So, for a traveler, that's very useful information. Now, on the radio, you'll find that it's very useful in building communities. And what I mean by that is they'll be like, there's potholes on the road. We've tied up with a pothole company that fixes potholes. If you want to be a part of it, you can come volunteer with us, So the radio does a lot of activities like that. They'll say, look, the walls in Delhi are very dirty. Let's go and paint it. If you want to be a part of it, come join us. We're picking up garbage, So there's different campaigns that we put out to educate listeners, to help them be a part of, the community. And that's very important, I feel. Because today, if you really look at it, everybody's on the phone. Nobody really interacts with each other. But radio gives you a chance to come together as a community, as a society, and do something, that benefits society.
Yeah.
So I feel in that way, radio is still very, very relevant. And I think radio still has one power that I don't think podcasts have or any other medium has. Radio is intimate. And what I mean by that is, for example, if you get a call just now from your best friend, okay, and your best friend says, hey, Harshita, I miss you. I love you so much. We haven't spoken in so long. How are you doing, man? Now, you'll feel really great. Wow, somebody took the time out to actually call me. Now, that's how listeners feel. When you call up a listener and say, how are you? The listener's like, really? Someone wants to know how I am? Oh, I'm fine. Is my voice being broadcasted all across Bangalore? And you're like, yeah. He's like, sir, my wife is a big fan of yours. Can you say hello to them? Hello to her? And I'll be like, hi. And then she'll also be like, oh my God, I'm also on the radio. So, radio is very personal. Somebody's calling you, somebody's interacting with you. That's amazing. I feel like that is something that's completely lost today. Yes, there's a lot of podcasts. You can see people on video, but can you really interact with them? No. That story that I just told you, where my RJ, he spoke to a guy who didn't have a good day. And then he gave him this prize and said, here, this is for you. And that guy said, wow, you made my day. Now, I think that's something that radio can give you. It's always nice to hear your best friend talking to you on the phone. So the radio is like your best friend. It has information with you. Like, in the morning, you can do this, do these kind of exercises, it can help you with your health. I tried it today. And yes, I have some pain in my neck, but I know in 10 days' time, I won't have this pain and I'll be a healthier person. So what I mean to say is the radio is like, it's a helper, it's your friend. It talks to you, it listens to you, and it creates content based on what's happening in society.
Yeah.
It's like a newsroom, but not quite. It doesn't do the serious stuff because you have that in newspapers. You have that in your news channels. But it entertains you. It gives you company. So I think that's something that radio has, and it will always be relevant for this particular reason.
Correct. That's something which I don't think a lot of people might think of, the way you've like put it across. That obviously it is something which is personal and which is connecting to us, right?
Yeah.
Which I think videos cannot to an extent do. We can relate to them, but connecting on that personal level is, I think, is missing. So yeah, definitely that's amazing. So is there any other incident or experience that you had from your 2.5 years at the radio producing job, or was there anything that still stands out that you liked or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, one thing as a producer that I did that I am very proud of.
Mm-hmm.
So I came out to my mum on air, live.
Okay.
Now, I am not gay, but there's a reason why I did this. Because my brother is gay. Now, we've always known it. But I was a bit surprised, as to why my brother, didn't tell us earlier. Probably it's tough to come out to the people that you love. Even to strangers, I guess. It must be even harder. So, Ayushman's movie had come out, Shubh Mangal Zyada Savdhan. And I liked that movie, and I thought, let's do something interesting on the radio. I'm going to call my mum, and I'm going to tell her, Mum, I'm gay, and I want to see how challenging it is. Is it really challenging? Because I'm not gay, so how would I know what that feels like? But let me try. Let me put myself in the position of a person who wants to come out, who finds it hard to come out, and tell their parents. And it was truly hard because my mom was also quite surprised. She's like, but you just had a girlfriend. Matlab, few weeks ago you had breakup bhi ho gaya, like how come? But I also wanted, through doing this, to show people that, it's even hard for parents. Now, my mom, she's brilliant, okay? She said, you know what, Shannon, if you're gay, I will accept you. I love you for who you are. You're a good human being, and that's what matters. It doesn't matter whether you're gay or not. But I wanted to show people that it's incredibly hard even for parents. I think parents face a lot of flack. Ki kyun nahi accept kiya? How come they don't understand? Now think about it, Harshita. Tomorrow if you came out to your mother or father and said you're a lesbian, how do you think they would take it? Now, of course, they'll have questions. And these are the questions that I wanted the listeners to listen to, So when I told my mom I'm gay, she's like, but how come? You've always had girlfriends your whole life. I have never known this. Like with your brother, I could understand. We always knew. But with you, how come? Now, does that make my mother a bad person for asking these questions? No, it makes her human, right? So when I did that, and I finally revealed to my mom, no, Mom, I'm not gay. But the reason why I called you is because I know that you will always have a very kind word, You're very understanding. And yes, it may take you time to analyze what I've said. But I know that you're very understanding and you'll reply to me in a kind way. You won't make me feel ashamed for who I am. So I wanted to do through this exercise, help people understand that it's very difficult for people from the LGBTQ community to come out, it is tough. I remember feeling very nervous, like how to say it and all of that. I could feel my mom's tension as well. And also tell them that, or show them rather, that, your parents, just because they don't understand it in the beginning, it doesn't mean that they can't. They have questions. And that content got shared a lot. And I was very proud of it. It wasn't to show off or anything like that, but it was to educate listeners that coming out can be very hard. And as someone who is not gay, I found it very hard to do so. And it's also hard for parents to completely understand it when you say it for the first time. It could come to a shock. It could come as a shock to them, but that doesn't mean that they can't feel that way, because I think parents get blamed a lot. Why aren't they understanding what I'm going through? Oh my God, they don't like people from the LGBTQ community. That's not true. They're human beings. It's like when you don't know something, you want to know, you want to understand. Even today, I don't completely understand everything about my brother, like why he's gay. Maybe it's not even my place to know, but okay, do I have this curiosity? I do. Now, am I wrong for having that curiosity? No. I treat my brother well. That's what a brother should do. My brother treats me well. That's what a brother should do. So that's what I wanted to show, that, okay, your parents may not completely understand, but that doesn't mean that they still can't treat you right. It doesn't mean that they still can't talk to you properly, which my mother did. And my mom, when she said, I accept you, I love you for who you are, I was like, I knew my mom would do it. So I think my mom set a very good example, and I think that content set out a good example for listeners. It put them in the hot seat. Ki tomorrow, if your children came and asked you this, how would you respond to that? Or if your parents told you that they were a gay or a lesbian or part of the LGBT community, how would you respond to them?
Yeah.
So it put them in the hot seat. So that's something I'm very proud of.
I think it wasn't just for people to understand that your mother was understanding, but also to feel what if they're on the other side, right? That is amazing. I do have a little personal question though here. So I have read your story about you getting to know when your brother was gay. Just like I said, I did my research.
Yes.
So I do know what you felt at that point, that why you weren't aware of it, why you weren't told basically by your brother before. But what was your mom's reaction to it? Right.
Like I said, we always knew that he was gay. Now, maybe like growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, we didn't realize like, okay, gay is the term. Or maybe we didn't know. We didn't know how to label it. But my brother was always, I would say, girly. In the sense that he liked clothes, whereas I loved playing with toys and soldiers. If he'd go to the park, I'd go in slippers. He'd go wearing good clothes and putting on shoes and putting on perfume. And I just wondered, like, why? You're just going to the park, He was always comfortable around women and girls, whereas I was, like, always afraid. I'd say the wrong thing. I'd hesitate. So we always knew that he was different, and he could say the same thing about me. Like, why is he not comfortable talking to girls? Like, he was never into cricket and sports. He was always into fashion. He would watch shows. And I think he was far more gentle. I was very rough as a child and all. I was into wrestling and all.
But all of these things can still be with somebody who's not gay. I mean.
Yeah, that's what. So we didn't know whether to label it or not, and therefore we said, okay, whether he's gay or not, if he is, he'll come and tell us. But we love him all the same, It's not like he was ever treated any differently in our home. Like, oh, okay, we think you're different. You can't eat dinner with us. It's not like that,
Yeah.
Because I've been to, pride marches and stuff, and it's really sad because a lot of these children, they've been thrown out of their houses and all. They've not been accepted by their parents. In fact, their parents are very ashamed of who they are. So, there's no discrimination in my house. But look, I can't force you into saying something you don't want to say. So, like when my brother came out, he told his friends and all that first. He told me much later. Probably he knew that I always knew. But I was very happy that he felt comfortable in telling me. He didn't even need to tell me. So we didn't know how to label it at that time. But we said, okay, when you're comfortable, you come and tell us.
Yeah, so your mom was in the same...
Yeah, my mom was in the same boat. That's what even, because many times I discussed this with my mom, like, why isn't he telling us? Because I've heard from my friends that he's had boyfriends.
Okay.
Yeah. So why? So even my mom knew, like, of course, I know that he's had boyfriends. I can tell.
Yeah.
But it's not up to us to ask,
Yeah.
because these things are very personal.
Yeah.
If you feel comfortable, you come and tell me.
Yeah.
So I think, when I heard my mom say that, I also realized, like, it's not up to me to ask him. I would be a bad brother, or my mom would be a bad mother if we discriminated against him.
Correct. Correct.
Because of who he is.
Yeah. And I think this is amazing that you had this, I'll say, giving your brother a personal space, a respect for that personal space that he should have always had, and also being understanding. I think this is amazing, and this is not a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people do understand that. But
No.
I am happy that you did that.
Thank you.
So let's come to the second part.
Yeah.
Right? Humans of Bombay. So after you left the radio producing job, you came into storytelling with Humans of Bombay?
Yeah, so like I said, with radio, you learn to be a better producer. You learn, like, what stories work, what stories don't. You learn how to, get people, find people.
Yeah.
Now, here's another misconception about radio. People think that the RJs and the radio producers, they have contacts with all the celebrities.
Yeah.
Aisa nahi hai. It's like when you go to the dentist, you got to make an appointment, right? So the same way, if you want to talk to a celebrity on air, you got to make an appointment with them, right? You got to
Okay.
fix a date.
Okay.
So I became, I'd say, competent at, finding people. In if I needed to find a contact, if I needed to find a celebrity, how to get in contact with them, how to talk to their PR teams, how to talk to their managers.
Okay.
Now, every single day, from 5 to 9 o'clock, I'm coming up with content to tell Bangalore. So I need to find stories to talk about, It could be personal stories, it could be stories about the city, it could be about anything, right? You could even talk about a fact that's very unique, Like a fact like, did you know a pig can play video games? It's smart enough to play video games.
What?
Yeah, so, you could even tell the listeners something like that, on air. You could give them a game, like, which animal is intelligent enough to play a video game, or could even beat you at a video game. No one would guess a pig.
Yeah.
So I became very good at sourcing stories, finding stories, sourcing people for interviews and all that. And then, at that time, Humans of Bombay, it was an upcoming storytelling platform. Not where it is today. Today, I mean, it has millions of followers.
Yeah.
So I saw that Humans of Bombay had put out a job on LinkedIn. They were looking for content writers. So I thought, okay, why not try, and I sent my resume. And actually, luckily for me, Humans of Bombay had actually written my brother's story.
Okay.
My brother's story and my story. Like how he came out and
Yeah.
stuff.
So somebody else wrote that?
Somebody else wrote that. They had put out one call out where they were saying, it was actually Deaf Month or something like that, or the Day of the Deaf, because my brother, he's partially deaf as well. So I sent in my brother's story that yes, he's deaf and this is what he's been dealing with, and also he's gay and we share this amazing bond. So somebody from Humans of Bombay reached out to me and they wrote our story. So I had a Humans of Bombay connection like that. So I'm like, okay, if they're looking for people to hire, just send my resume. It's, they've written my story also. Take a chance. So I did that. And luckily for me, I got through. And then, I started writing stories for Humans of Bombay. And in a way, yes, it's very different to radio because, at the radio station, everybody is bustling with ideas. They're bubbly, you can't be quiet at a radio station. Everyone will be like, "Pata hai kya hua? Ye hua tha," this thing, And when you're at Humans of Bombay, at least initially, everyone's very quiet because you're writing the stories, you're interviewing people, you're writing their life stories. So you need to be very careful. You need to get all the information, put it together, write a nice piece for them. So yeah, that's how I got into Humans of Bombay. I applied via LinkedIn, and because I had an early connect with Humans of Bombay through them writing my brother's story, that's how I got into storytelling.
Wow, that's amazing. And I am very interested in knowing all the stories, all the amazing people that you've met, and wherever you want to start from. I mean,
Well, I've met a lot of interesting people because, like I said, radio helped me in uh, knowing what stories work, what stories probably interest people. So, I've interviewed over 300 people
oh
at
my
Humans of Bombay.
god.
That's a lot of people. And I know a lot of intimate details about them because they've shared it willingly. Um, but some stories that I find very interesting was, the time I met a sperm donor.
Okay.
Now, it's not like I was looking for a sperm donor. I don't mean it like that. But
Yeah.
I was just like, I watched Vicky Donor. And I
Okay.
was like, oh, this is a interesting movie. And I've also had the thought, कि अगर जिंदगी में कुछ ना हो जाए, like, can I make a living as a sperm donor? These thoughts come into your head. I'm not afraid of admitting them. So, on Facebook, there are so many sperm donation pages.
Okay.
Yeah, you may not know because I'm researching, like, where do I find a sperm donor? Millinera. So I'm like, okay, let me try Facebook. So I wrote
Yeah.
sperm donor India.
Yeah.
And there are pages there. And I saw so many sperm donors put their numbers on these pages. So many of them have helped couples conceive. So
Okay.
I found this number and I called. So I'm like, hello, sir, I'm calling from Humans of Bombay. He's like, क्या चाहिए? Sperm चाहिए? I'm like, नहीं, कहानी चाहिए आपका. I would like to write about it.
Yeah.
So, you got to be very careful because this guy was like, oh, but everyone will get to know, I also have a family now, so what do you intend to do with my story? I said, look, if you want to stay anonymous, it's fine with you. I'd like to take your picture. I'd like to talk to you and find out why you do this because I'm also curious, like, did you do it for the money? Or did you do it because you genuinely wanted to help somebody? Like, what is the cost of a sperm? And the cost of a sperm is 1,500 rupees.
Okay.
And he agreed and I spoke to him. So I said, how did you get into this? So he told me, you know what? I met with my doctor friend and this doctor friend said, there's this couple, they need a sperm donor. Would you like to donate? And he's like, Pagal hai kya? How come, how can you ask me such a question? And then the doctor said, look, don't worry. When your child grows up, it's not like it's going to come looking for you. There's a contract, but you'll make this couple very happy if you help them conceive, right? So he's like, think about it if this is something you want to do. So he went back home, he gave it thought, and he said, you know what? I'm in a way helping somebody. They really want to have a child. They want to give this child the best life. Now, if I can be a part of that, it would be amazing. So he decided to do it. And a few months later, even the story actually how he, went to the clinic and all of that is quite hilarious.
Okay.
Like there were magazines to get him into the mood to do it and all that. It's very
Okay.
funny, yeah.
Okay.
But we won't get into that. But a few months later, after he did it, the doctor called him and said, you know what? Your sperm has helped this couple conceive. And, at that time, he said, I really wanted to know the sex of my child. I wanted to know my child. I wanted to see my child. And I begged the doctor, please, I just want to see my child. And the doctor said, no, it's a contract, as I told you in the beginning. Now, that's what I find fascinating with this story. There's something very human about him because he does have paternal feelings, Now, he didn't think that maybe he'd feel this way. Yes, he thought about it, but when it really happened, he said it drove me crazy in a way because I really wanted to know. I wanted to see what my child looked like. Now, I find that there's a story here. Why? Because here's a man who's helped a couple conceive. It's his sperm, it's his child. Yeah? I mean, biologically, it is his. But he can never see what is biologically his. He will never get to know that child. He will never get to see that child. Now, there's something really sad about that. There's something very bittersweet because, in a way, he's been of service to a couple, but he can never know what his child looks like. And he told me, I roam the streets every day and I look at children playing. And why do I do that? Because I want to see if their face resembles mine. because then I feel like, okay, I know what my son or daughter looks like, And today he's a parent, right? He has his own child. So he knows the joy of being a parent. So he knows that he's given a lot of happiness to this couple. But obviously you're curious, right? Like if I had a child somewhere around, okay, I would like to know what that child look like. Is the child handsome or rich or whatever? I mean,
Or a Ridgecourt.
Ridgecourt.
Yeah.
So that's what I found very fascinating with this story, the story of a sperm donor. Then there was another story that I wrote about a guy who looks like Shahrukh Khan, and I really mean he looks like Shahrukh Khan. It's uncanny.
The same height.
The
Same
same height,
body
the same
structure.
hair. It's like, what's that Hrithik Roshan movie? Kaho Na Pyar Hai?
Yeah.
But with Shahrukh Khan and this guy.
Yeah.
theek hai? There's no Hrithik Roshan. It's Shahrukh Khan and this person.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Like, he really does look like Shahrukh Khan. And what I found fascinating with his story is that everybody wants to know him. Kyun? Because he looks like Shahrukh Khan.
Yeah.
The parents are also happy. Why? Because he looks like Shahrukh Khan. I'm like, but you have given birth to this child, right? Like, be happy that you've given birth to a child. नहीं हम खुश हैं क्योंकि शाहरुख खान की तरह दिखता है. I'm like, यार, that's so sad in a way because your whole identity is based on somebody else, Now he can't help it. Like, he grows up and looks like Shahrukh Khan. What can he do about it? He even told me, like, I went to see Rais. And everyone thought ki Shahrukh Khan aa gaya premiere pe. So everyone started going crazy, sir, autograph de do, this and that. He went to see KKR versus Gujarat Titans, in the stadium. Sab thaliyan baja rahe, hey, Shahrukh Khan is there. They started, speaking Shahrukh Khan's lines to him.
Okay.
Yeah, and it became so crazy at the stadium that he had to leave. He had to call the police. Ki, sir, like, everyone is on me. They're tearing my t-shirt and all of that. Everyone wants to hug me, kiss me and all. So he realizes like how difficult it is to be Shahrukh Khan. Like, itna pyar milta hai, but itna jhamela bhi milta hai, And when the police got him out of the stadium, the police were like, sir, ek selfie, ek autograph. So that's how crazy his life is.
But like exact look like.
I promise you, I will send you his Instagram ID, or if you want on this podcast, you put up a picture of him. It's uncanny. And even he tells me, he's like, do I enjoy being Shahrukh Khan? Like, he's his doppelganger now. Right? And people invite him for their weddings, to dance to Chaya Chaya and all that. So he enjoys being Shahrukh Khan, but he also says, it's really sad that nobody wants to know me.
Yeah.
Like, mera naam kya hai? Nobody even knows. Yeah? It's Ibrahim Qadri. So I'm putting it out there, Nobody wants to know him. Like, he knows a lot of people. A lot of people have taken pictures with him. They're very happy to be around him. But nobody really knows what his hobbies are.
I am little skeptical if I saw TV pe stadium with the actual Shahrukh Khan or him.
Yeah, that's what. And you can't tell. You really can't tell. I think, okay, maybe the eyes are a bit different.
Okay.
But when you put on shades like Shahrukh Khan, he looks exactly the same. So I found that very interesting. So I thought, why not? Let's write a story about that.
Yeah.
That for no fault of yours, you're loved for looking like somebody else. So what is your identity?
A part of it is amazing that you're getting all that fame and everything, but जब एक बंदा अकेले बैठता है, I think वो जो identity crisis that we talk about, इधर तो max होगा.
नहीं, like, I can understand outsiders doing it. But when your own parents are like, मैं इतना खुश हूँ कि मेरा बेटा शाहरुख खान की तरह दिखता है. It's like, अरे यार, like, give him some love, You created him, okay? Like, what do you mean he looks like Shahrukh Khan, so we're very happy? I get it. But that's what I found very fascinating about this story, So that's two. I'll tell you one more because you're also running a business, right?
Yeah.
And I met this auto driver, in Chennai. His name is Annadurai.
Okay.
And it's the most unique auto driving experience I've ever had. Because in his auto, you'll find newspapers, you'll find the radio, you'll find Netflix, Amazon, different OTT platforms, you'll find an iPad, you'll find a fridge, you'll find all sorts of things in his auto.
In an auto?
In an auto, right? He even has a card swiping machine.
What?
Yeah. So why does he have those things? Now, because when he was growing up, he realized that his fate was that he was only going to be an auto driver. Now, why? Because his family members are auto drivers. So he couldn't be educated, he couldn't go to school or college. His dream was to be a businessman one day. So when he became an auto driver, he said, all right, this is not what I want to be, but let's make the most of it. Let me think, mera USP kya hai? So what he did was, he asked people like, what are some things that you want from your auto driver? So people said safety, So he said, other than that, I want you to find out what else I could do for the happiness of my customers and my passengers. So one day, there were two passengers in his auto. One was reading the newspaper, and the wife was trying to talk to him, but the husband was so engrossed in reading the newspaper that he wasn't paying attention to her. And she did this to him. She's like, Suno! And then he said, I realized that this man was so engrossed with the newspaper that I decided I'm going to put newspapers in my auto. So agar kisi ko kuch padhna hai, they'll get it in my auto. And every day he puts newspapers from different languages. If there's someone from Gujarat, there'll be a Gujarati newspaper. If there's someone from some other state, he'll put that newspaper. There'll be a newspaper in Hindi, in English. So that's how he started. Later, demonetization happened. So, so he started putting a card swiping machine.
So newspapers jo lega, he has to pay.
No, it's free.
Okay.
It's free. But you're getting to read a newspaper.
Yeah.
It's like when you travel, I can't take the newspaper everywhere with me. But when I sit in his auto, in other autos, you won't get a newspaper. But you're getting a free newspaper here. So tum yaad rakhoge na ki is auto pe I got a newspaper. Then you put a card swiping machine. Then one day, one guy, he was watching Netflix, okay? He was completely engrossed in the phone. And the auto guy saw this. So he's like, wow, yaar, let me put Netflix also. Let me buy my own tablet and put Netflix in it. So one day he had a passenger who was watching Netflix on his iPad in the auto. And he was wanting to complete the season. He didn't want to get off and all. So he's like, sir, theek hai, ek aur round ghuma lo. And then I'll stop because I want to finish this season. So you see, his observation skills are amazing. And he puts in his auto what he knows the customers will like. So in a way, he is thinking like a businessman. Theek hai, wo education nahi mila. He couldn't, right? He didn't have the money for it. But he is thinking like a businessman. And now he's separated himself from all the other auto drivers, right? In fact, if you take 40 auto rides with him, he'll give you 2,000 rupees cash back or something like that. So, you're also building a friendship with these customers. When new customers come in to his auto, now he's learned different languages also. So he'll say namaste, he'll say something in Gujarati, something in Tamil, in Kannada. He knows how to greet his customers, and talk to them in their language. He interacts with them, So I find this guy very interesting. He thinks like a businessman. And in a way, he is a businessman.
Yeah.
Because next time when I come to Chennai, I don't want to take an auto, any auto. I want to drive with this guy. I want to, like, if I have water and it's very warm because Chennai is very hot, I'll put it in his fridge that's there in the auto, a mini fridge.
Yeah.
So you won't believe this guy, like, he gives college lectures and all that now because he's become famous like that. Now imagine, look at his marketing. It's brilliant, okay? He takes customers for these rides. Now they take selfies with him. He has an Instagram page. Instagram pe bhi tag kar rahe. So it's like if you're in Chennai, go to him. Everyone will be like, so cool. So, you go. So the next person will take his ride. Then the next person will take his ride. So you see how his reach has increased. He's just an auto driver. So his thinking is amazing. So when I went in his auto, I was like, wow, I have to write the story. I'm very lucky that I met this guy, but that's amazing. And when I put his story out, then I saw like his reach increased triple, right? Because now everyone's like, oh, wow, yaar, haan. It's like he's giving you an MBA, honestly, on how to market yourself.
Yeah.
So that was another story that I found truly amazing.
Wow, I mean, I'm not sure if a person who's doing MBA or has done MBA can even think of converting an auto into something like this.
Yeah.
This is amazing. Like, wow. Okay, so these were all the amazing parts of your experience, I also want to know about a serious one. Like, you met somebody from the Kargil War scene, an army person or something like that. So how was
Yes.
that experience? What was their story? What eventually happened? What happened?
Yeah, it was amazing. I think it's the best piece I've ever written
Okay.
because I completely empathized with the soldier, and the
Hmm.
soldier's name is Captain Naveen Nagappa,
Okay.
and he fought in the Kargil War. And I couldn't just write one piece on him. We had to write 6 parts to his story. And he was friends with Captain Vikram Batra, and Captain Vikram Batra saved him before he was shot,
Yeah.
before he passed away, unfortunately. And like it's so sad, the story, like he narrated to me before he went to war with his soldiers. The soldiers would be together and they would write a letter to their families, one last letter in case they didn't come home, and he told me about that experience. Like, everyone was crying while they wrote their final letters because you don't know whether you're going to come back or not. Now imagine, like, if I'm going to war and I don't know I'm going to come back, what would be the last thing I'm going to tell my family,
Yeah.
So he said my hands were trembling. I didn't know what to write. It was literally like this. I'm writing it like this. And he just said, I hope I was a good son. I was very blessed to have parents like you, Please know that I was the luckiest son, because I had parents like you. And he told me about his experience. He almost died. So he was, I wouldn't call it a hut, but he was hiding, okay, in this hut-looking thing. And he was shooting at the enemy soldiers. And somebody threw a bomb at him, okay? And he realized that bomb would explode in 6 seconds. Okay. Okay, I was calling it a hut. It's called a bunker. He was hiding in a bunker and shooting at the enemy. So that enemy threw a bomb at him and he realized it was going to burst in 6 seconds. Now, what are you going to do in 6 seconds? And so guess what? He picked up the bomb, he threw it back. It hit a boulder, it hit a stone and came rolling back again. So this time he only has about 2 seconds left to live. And the bomb explodes, okay? Now, I love how selfless he is because when he threw the bomb, he had his friends, his comrades, his soldiers on the left side and on the right side. So he knew, like, if he threw it this side, they'll die. If he throws it this side, his comrades will die there. So he had to throw it this way. And look at his luck, it hit the stone and came rolling back. So the bomb exploded. He told me, he's like, it was so surreal. I didn't know whether I was dead or I was hallucinating. He looked at his legs and his legs were completely destroyed. Completely destroyed. And he said then the Pakistani soldiers, they came with their guns to shoot him. And at that point, Captain Vikram Batra came and he led an attack and he shot back at the Pakistani soldiers. And he said, if Captain Vikram Batra didn't come, I would have died. And he's saying it's so strange, when you're about to die, your life flashes before you. So he's saying, I had that. And his last prayer was, if I die, please, I don't want to go back in shreds to my parents. I want them to see my face. He's like, I don't know how. Those 2 seconds felt like the longest 2 seconds of my life. But that was my last prayer. And then, thankfully, he didn't die. Captain Vikram Batra pulled him out of the bunker while shooting at the enemies. And Captain Vikram Batra said, don't worry, I'll sort these buggers out, you're safe. So he dragged him like that, got him to safety. And then Captain Vikram Batra went, shot at the enemies, led the army, and unfortunately he passed. So, that's his memory of Captain Vikram Batra, how selfless he is, And he said, it's so sad, it breaks my heart. Because probably if that didn't happen, probably Captain Vikram Batra would have been alive. At the end of the day, Captain Vikram Batra is also the son of, a family, right? He is. So imagine, maybe I'm the direct cause of that. So I live with that guilt every single day, but he saved my life. He didn't care about his own life. He cared about me, right? And that's the duty of a soldier, to put country first, then your comrades. Last, I need to think about myself. Even when that bomb fell, I didn't throw it towards I wasn't careless with it because I could have thrown it anywhere. But I knew, like, I would have killed my comrades if I had thrown it there. And it's just the way he narrated it, I could completely empathize with him. And when I wrote the story, even I started crying, because I totally got what he felt. It took him many years to learn to walk again, on crutches. And I think it's been now over 20 years since the war. They went back to the peak, 2194, I think. I hope I'm not mistaken. They went back to the peak, and he went to the same bunker from where he was saved, and he prayed for Captain Vikram Batra. He held up the soil, and he just started crying, and he prayed for him, And he's like, all the soldiers who survived, we went to that peak, and we saw the Indian flag waving. And we just said, let's not cry for the soldiers. Let's honor them because these guys were great men, Let's honor the fact that such brave people lived, Let's not be sad that they died, because we're indebted to them. We really are as citizens. So, I mean, it was so cathartic, and it made me feel very, very grateful because I'm a citizen. I mean, I'm telling you of the stories I've done. My contribution is nothing compared to what he's done. Nothing. Like, imagine, if Pakistan invades India or something, imagine what's going to happen to us. So they take care of us, And the fact that this man is so selfless, like even when he's about to die, he's thinking about his teammates. Look at us, we're so selfish. One opportunity comes to save ourselves. Like, I remember, I went, you go to these amusement parks, now there's these scary houses and all that you go into, those horror houses. I'll put my mom first. Mummy, nahi, pehle aap jao, I'm so scared. This guy, he's so selfless. Even in the face of danger, he's thinking about other people. He's thinking about the citizens, about his comrades, about his country. That's the same thing Captain Vikram Batra did. And he's like, I wish, people knew these stories. That's why these stories need to be told.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, my salute to him, Captain Naveen Nagappa.
This is inspiring in a lot many ways. And when you said that they were writing that one last letter to be sent to their family, I think, again, we can't even imagine the emotions they were going through. But the emotions that family will have when they receive that letter is also something which we can't even imagine, because I completely get and I understand that a soldier is selfless, and when they're on their job, any army person, I think they are very selfless and everything with everything that's going around. But I also think the family that had the courage to send their son or their daughter, right, this another level of courage that they have.
When Captain Naveen Nagappa came back from Kargil, right? Now, imagine his parents didn't know that he had gone to Kargil. He didn't tell his parents because he knew what it would have done to his family. His father has a business, okay? And when I was first writing the story, we started from there. And the father said that, I don't want you to go. I don't want you to be a soldier because you have responsibilities here. We have a business. What if you don't come back? I love you, son, The mother is deeply religious. She would have prayed for him. And when he came back from Kargil, that's what his family said. He said that, my mom sat by the TV every day. She prayed for me. My father was with her, giving her comfort. They would cry for me. My brothers and sisters, they were always looking for updates. They couldn't concentrate on their work, They knew, they didn't know that he had gone, but still they were keeping, they were looking for updates as to what was happening in the Kargil War. Like, is my son being called to go? And when you're in the army, you can't contact your family. You don't know where your son is also. So is he alive? Is he dead? What's happening? So he said, when I came back, my mother saw me. She saw the state of my legs. And she said, son, I love you so much. I want to make you better, but you're in so much of pain. And if you have to die, and if death is more peaceful than living, then, it's not that I hope you die, but my God, I don't know what I'll do without you, but I can't see you in such misery. That's what she said. The mother stuck it out with him in the hospital. When she'd go back, the father would come. When the father would go away, the sister would come. They got him better, helped him learn how to walk again. So, and I love, in a way, how all of this has, in a way, ended, because it's your family who teaches you how to walk. They bring you up. He's gone. He's made his family proud. They're teaching him how to walk again. There's something very nice about that. Even now, like, I get goosebumps. Truly amazing. You're right. The sacrifices. It's a huge sacrifice that parents make also.
Yeah, this reminds me of this unfortunate incident that I encountered recently. I met a para commando. Okay, unfortunately, I couldn't get him on the podcast. He had to go back. He had to joining. So he told me about his story. He had 7 operations, and one of them, which was like he was fighting there at Jammu Kashmir's border, and he was shot with a sniper. The sniper didn't actually go inside the body, but it just left from here, right? And the whole intestine had to be brought out. He had a 14-hour operation, but the whole point when I was coming on the family part was the family was just called and informed that your son has been shot and will be going under an operation.
Yeah.
The father who was on the call, he died instantly.
Oh my God.
Had a heart attack, and the phone was in his hand and he died. Even though the son survived after the operation, when he was talking to me, I could feel. He was like, "Main bhi chala jata." So he was like, I'm the only son in the family. When this happened, when he got to know that I was shot, he couldn't take it. My father couldn't take it. And this is a big loss to him now, and that is where I come from when I say that the family is really, I'd say, courageous enough to send their sons, their daughters into the army. And of course, we can't even imagine that.
I mean, amazing sacrifice. There are many stories like this. Is just one. Honestly, man, like I'm getting goosebumps. What you just told me, like it's shocking, very very shocking. But I'll say this: I'm very fortunate, to have interviewed such people. There are many stories, that I've written, that I've found, put on the radio. And these stories, they motivate people. If they motivate me, I'm sure they'll motivate other people. And I think that's something good. At least that makes me happy. Ki theek hai, hopefully the work that I'm putting out, has meaning. Because many times you wonder, like, what am I doing with life? Every day is going by.
Yeah.
Am I doing something worthwhile? So, like, I feel very grateful, like, you invited me. Like, because as I told you before, I was the one interviewing people. Today it's like I'm being, interviewed for the stories that I've done.
And today you are on Coffee with Karan.
Yeah, this
Light.
really does feel like, coffee with Karan. And all of that, this is water, by the way.
Okay, people will get to know we don't have a coffee budget though.
Yeah. No, but truly, I mean, I just feel very happy because I've done the work that I've done with a lot of sincerity, with a lot of good intentions, hoping it could help people. Because if these stories have helped me, so people listening to your podcast, I'm sure, they'll also gain a lot of insights and learnings.
Yeah.
And nobody's life is perfect as it's shown on, social media.
Correct.
I mean, there's grey in everybody, but that's what makes us human. And that's what I've tried to put out via the stories. I've written for Humans of Bombay, and I've put out on the radio as well.
Yeah, there's another very interesting story that I want to come to now since it's all gone so serious. Yeah, so let's talk about the Mr.Bean lookalike that you met. How was that experience? Where did you find that guy and what happened?
So I was running out of stories. I'm like, okay, I mean, how many... Okay, you've covered the themes of love and entrepreneurship and the LGBTQ community, and I was just looking for something different, and I was watching Mr. Bean. Okay, yes, I'm 30 years old. Yes, I still watch Mr. Bean. So I was watching Mr. Bean, and I was like, I wonder if there's anybody who looks like Mr. Bean. This guy's like an alien, Mr. Bean. Like he talks to a teddy bear and all that. Like, I wonder, koi insan hai aisa? Like, there has to be, there's billions of people in the world. There has to be some person like this. So I wrote, like Indian Mr. Bean. I just put it up on Google. And there was an Indian Mr. Bean. This guy, he looks exactly like Mr. Bean. So I was like, man, that's interesting. I'd like to talk to you, you know. So I spoke to him and I said, you know, did you always know you look like Mr. Bean and all of that? So he's like, well, what can I do? Again, I also grew up in like the Shahrukh Khan guy. Maybe I started looking like Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
But, you know, he said, I was always very underconfident as a child. I didn't have friends. I was very shy. I wanted to be like, you know, the class clown, but it's just not me. You know, I had no confidence. But, you know, when I started seeing Mr. Bean, I gained a lot of confidence. I said, how? What do you mean? So he said, Mr. Bean is somebody who enjoys his own company. And how many of us really enjoy each other's our own company? You know, we're great in front of other people, but when we're alone, do we really like the person that we are?
Yeah.
Probably not, probably yes. It's 50-50, I guess. So he's saying, I love myself. That's what Mr. Bean taught me, to love yourself always. कि अगर dating करना है, तो date yourself. अगर shopping करना है, shop for yourself. Like मजा आएगा. You know, like sometimes it's like when you're feeling low, go outside. You'll start feeling better. You know, you're going for shopping, buy a new t-shirt. You look better. You know? So he said, you know, when I started accepting myself for who I was, then my confidence increased. So actually, Mr. Bean has a lot of confidence because only that man can roam around with a teddy bear, drive a car like that,
Right.
and behave so silly, you know. And he's he's getting into trouble, but maza bhi aa raha hai usko, you know. And he's like, same way, I also enjoy myself, and that's something that Mr. Bean has taught me, you know, to date yourself, to love yourself. And I said, that's a great message, man. That's a great message. So yeah, like, you know, he also, now he gets invited to parties. Probably yes, because he looks like Mr. Bean. But great, you know, he dances the way he wants to dance. Who cares if he doesn't know how to dance? You know, he talks the way he wants to talk. He's more open about things. Before he was all very reserved.
But you like heard him speak? Of
He-
course.
No, so he does speak like how he normally speaks.
Yeah.
But now he's also learned how to imitate Rowan Atkinson also.
Okay.
You know, hello. He does whatever that the way Mr. Bean talks.
Yeah.
And so yeah, now he's also Mr. Bean's like doppelganger. And amazing dude. Like, you should see his YouTube channel.
Okay.
Amazing videos he creates. You know, and it's all in the Indian context. Because
Yeah.
he's India's Mr. Bean, na?
Yeah.
So things that we Indians can relate with, he's put Mr. Bean in that. And he looks exactly like Mr. Bean. So there are new stories that are coming up, you know. So fantastic. Like he's saying, before, I was so scared to even get in front of a camera. I hated people taking my pictures because I only hated myself. I was so underconfident.
Same.
अब मजा आ रहा है. It's like, I love myself. ठीक है यार, मैं ऐसा हूँ तो क्या हो गया? So he's saying that is something that Mr. Bean has taught him. Now, yes, he looks like Mr. Bean. Probably, even if he didn't look like Mr. Bean, probably Mr. Bean could have taught him the same lesson, to love yourself. But he's like, I'm happy also, yeah. Like a person that I admire so much, I look like him. You know, I look like Rowan Atkinson. I look like Mr. Bean. So it's good that I get this attention.
But from both stories that you had of the lookalikes, anywhere do you draw this line of similarity ki dono at any point? Because we know that the Shahrukh Khan guy did feel a little bit about his identity not being, say, distinguished from Shahrukh Khan. So idhar bhi kya, did you feel the same way, that he was also feeling a little that maybe he wouldn't have been a lookalike and would have an own identity?
Probably, I think both of them would have gone through some sort of identity crisis.
Yeah.
But I think what both of them have done is that they've accepted it. They're like, because you can't do anything about the way you look, right? Like, tomorrow if I look like Brad Pitt, I'd be damn happy, ठीक है? Like, मैं change करने के लिए तैयार हूँ. But, yeah, it's not me, right? But I can't do anything about it. If I look like that, I look like that, you know? So even the Shahrukh Khan guy realizes, I look like him. Now, I can make the most out of it. If I'm getting the fame, why won't I take it? You're a human being. No, if you get fame tomorrow, if you're getting paid to dance at weddings, wouldn't you take it?
I would.
You would, yeah. And there's nothing to judge him about. Yeah? Like, put yourself in his shoes also. So, yeah, he has this identity thing. Like, I wish people knew me also. But I am the way I am, right? So, yes, I'm making money off Shahrukh Khan also. But I am myself to my family. Same thing even this Mr. Bean guy says. He's like, I am the way I am. I'm taking advantage of it because I look like Mr. Bean and I'm making new content. Maybe I'm putting a smile on people's faces. And that's true. Mr. Bean has put a smile on all our faces. He's making this content in Hindi and in using the Indian context. And he's making people laugh. So he's, in a way, also doing something that's very, very nice. So I think they've accepted that, yes, I think they'll always have a sort of identity crisis, but it is the way it is. That's what I mean. Everything is not black and white, Like, hota hai. Like, sometimes it's like, even I don't look like Mr. Bean or Shahrukh Khan. I also have an identity crisis every day.
Correct.
Like, am I doing what I really want to do? Is it really impacting people? I've done some good things, I've done some bad things. Like, we all struggle with it. So they are no different. But what I like about them is that, they're honest about it. They're making the most of it. How many of us even make the most of who we are?
Yeah.
We don't. So
Right.
that's what I admire about both of them.
Right. You were also talking about, you've written a lot of stories about love, and I have read one about the blind couple, which
Yeah.
I would really like if you could tell us more about. What was it all about? Like, the whole idea
This-
behind why you wanted to interview them.
Yeah, so I've written a lot of love stories. I've interviewed a lot of people who've been in love, okay? And most of the stories are quite similar. I'm very happy for them, like Gudiya Shadi ho raha hai, all that nice. But what I've noticed is when you go on to dating apps, you're judged for how you look.
Yeah.
And I feel like, they'll be like, height kya hai? Acha ye hai. What are you looking for? Acha ye. Then, I don't know, there's other options, right? You got to fill. So I feel like, everything is so, like, there's no room to get to know anybody. It's like sab kuch pata chal jata hai isme hi. And everything is set. So, okay, if I don't fall into this category, that means what? I'm not dateable. Sometimes actually people who are maybe very different, maybe like their love stories are pretty interesting.
Yeah.
There's no room to get to know anybody anymore, is the way I feel, at least on dating apps. Because, you're judging somebody based on their looks. And let's admit it, like we've all done that, okay? Like, yeah, you'll read what they are about, but you judge them based on that. So I wanted to do something where I wanted to write a story about what it's like to date a blind person, okay? So fortunately for me, I found a photographer who had taken pictures of a blind couple.
Okay.
And then I got in touch with this photographer. I'm like, listen, I would love to talk to them. Can you help me? So he said, okay. He gave me their number. And I spoke to this blind couple. And the boy told me, he said, I'm dating the most beautiful girl. So I said, but how do you know? So he's like, because I know her soul. I know it. When I talk to her, like I really do feel she's listening to me, like I can see her. I see her for the person that she is. And he said something very interesting, like, what if my girlfriend and I, we were not blind? What if we could really see each other? And what if we had never approached each other based on what we had seen?
Yeah.
That would be such a shame. And that's what I feel we as people do, people who can see. अरे नहीं यार वो वैसे दिखता है वैसे कपड़े पहनता है like नहीं यार he's boring, No. So he's saying the process of getting to know her was amazing. Like, yes, he still put on a tuxedo. He doesn't know what a tuxedo looks like. But he's like, the reason why I put on that tuxedo is because of the way she made me feel. She made me feel like I was handsome, So I put on a tuxedo and I felt very confident. I bought her flowers. Yes, she can't see it, but she can smell it, We ate ice cream together, and while we were eating ice cream, like, I could feel the ice cream falling on the floor. But still, we had so much fun eating ice cream together. We held hands. And when we held hands, we felt an electricity. Now, that's amazing. Look at the description. I love the way they were describing their love. And I think that's why I wrote it, because I feel today we're so judgmental. About everything. And I don't like these apps, because I don't think these apps really give you a chance to really get to know somebody. And today it's even worse. It's like pay and you'll, you can find somebody.
Is it?
Yes. So, like, because I've been also, I'm not saying I've not been on dating apps, okay? But really, it's like, after a while, they'll give you some sort of premium. Like, if you pay, then there's a better chance you'll find. I'm like, no, man, no. Like, I work very hard for my money. I don't want to pay for this. You know, like, you're offering a service where I'm meeting people. Can I just meet one?
Yeah.
And I don't know what the thing is about boys and girls. Like, for me, literally, like, the matches are zero. I feel so unhandsome.
What?
Yeah. So,
You kidding
but
me?
no, truly. And it's like that for a lot of guys. For the girls, I'm sure it'll be a bigger number because there are lesser girls, but more guys probably. But what I mean to say is, or maybe it's just the algorithm of these apps. But what I'm trying to tell you is, these apps, they make you focus more on the physical appearances, and they in a way box you. They don't give you a chance to know the other person. You'll just take a, it's like looking at a resume. ठीक है, he's done good work, but maybe he's capable of more that you don't know. But if
Yeah.
you will not know if you don't give that person a chance. It's that. Like me, I had never done radio in my life, right? I had done this podcast. I just asked somebody, please take a chance. Like, this is what I've done. You know, look at the way I think. And fortunately, somebody gave me a chance, and that gave me confidence. And then I realized, like, damn, I'm good at radio, probably, you know? So same way even with Humans of Bombay. It's like, give me a chance. I've done radio. I've never written before. So that company gave me a chance. So through the story, that's what I wanted to explore. That is love really blind? And I think, yes, it is. Yes, it is. You know, like if you have a boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever, you love them for the person that they are. You know, after a while, you don't care how they look, but you appreciate them for their humor, for their
Right.
kindness.
Right.
So I guess, you know, love is really blind, but you can also see very clearly
Yeah.
when love is blind. It's weird, you know. So that is what this couple showed me. So it was a very interesting story, very different love story.
Yeah, that is unique also. I mean, what you said did actually make sense. When you are with that person, I think after a while it doesn't matter how they look, right? If there's a very handsome, nice looking guy with me who cannot understand what I want, what I'm going through, I don't think, I want to be with that person. So yeah, that actually makes sense, and I'm again processing all that you said.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing. So yeah, like, do we have anything else? Any other story? Any other thing that stands out?
Any other story that stands out? I mean, do you want a serious one or maybe like a happy one or something?
Anything works.
Anything works. All right, I'll tell you one more. The story of a surrogate mother, okay?
Okay.
So there was this couple, okay? They couldn't have a child. And they were under a lot of family pressure. Like, have a baby. You know, so they were really pressured. So they went to a surrogacy home. And the cost to be a surrogate mother is nothing less than 5 lakhs. Like, you can literally charge 5 lakhs, 6 lakhs, 7 lakhs. More than that, you know, because obviously you're carrying somebody's child,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, like I told you, the sperm thing is 1,500.
I was about to say the same.
It's quite a difference. So this couple, they couldn't conceive. I mean, she couldn't give birth, this lady. So they went to the surrogacy home, and she spoke to this lady over there who worked there and said, look, we can't conceive. We're looking for a surrogate mother, but we can't afford it because it's so expensive. Do you know anybody who will do it at a cheaper rate? And that lady, she said, all right, you can't afford it, no problem. I've been a mother. I've given birth twice, and I know the joy of being a mother, right? And if you really want to be a mother, I will do this for you. And I will not charge you anything. I will do it for free. So that couple was very happy, you know. And that lady who volunteered to do this for free, she got the embryo placed inside her. But then her family also were, like, what are you doing? Like, how? What if you develop feelings for the child? Because you're carrying the child, right?
Yeah. It's
Like,
more than just donating your sperm.
yeah, so, like, what if you want to be its mother? You know, it's not my son, the husband said, but it's not my son. And his question is very valid. Like, how, you know, I don't know if I'll be able to love it. Will you be able to love the child? What if you develop feelings? So what she did was, she said, look, it'll make this couple very happy. I'm doing a good service. So she wore loose clothes. She didn't visit her family. When her children told her, "Mummy, why is your stomach growing?" She's like, "Nothing. I'm eating a lot. I'll go to the gym and then I'll get back my body." So she had to hide, her. She had to hide the fact that this is what she was doing. So she stayed in her house for all those months, locked herself up and all of that. Now, man, that takes a lot of courage. And, finally, when she was supposed to give birth, that couple that couldn't conceive, what they did? They booked a room in the same hospital
Okay.
where that woman was meant to conceive, and they faked the pregnancy because their family was pressurizing them. Now they knew if they would tell the family ki surrogate se ho raha hai, the family wouldn't accept them, right? It would be like a taboo, like you're bringing shame to the family. So they faked their pregnancy. And when the child was born in the other room, their child, they sent somebody. And the woman said, I've given birth to your son, but please give your son the best life. That is why I volunteered to do this, to be a surrogate mother. If you promise to do that, I know I have done the right thing. They promised. They took the child from there and
Came
brought
to
it
the
in the
another
other
room.
room.
Oh,
And then
God.
called their family, and the family was very happy. They were distributing sweets and all of that. So what does this story tell you? That pregnancy is such a normal thing. And
Yeah.
okay, if it doesn't happen for you, you can seek help. But look at what a taboo it is in our country, that you're seeking help for something that is so normal. That woman brought joy to that couple.
Yeah.
Yeah. She did it for free. She didn't charge any money. That woman has had to lie, has had to be 9 months away from, her mother-in-law, father-in-law, she had to speak to her husband
Yeah.
and say, look, what I'm doing is right. Please understand. So I love a mother's love, because even she's a mother, right? She's had 2 children before.
Yeah.
She knows the joy of being a mother. She
Yeah.
wants to give that gift to that woman.
Correct.
And imagine that that couple's family didn't know that a surrogate had given birth to their child.
Yeah.
So,
As far as this is very happy and amazing, on one side, it's also something which we need to think about as a society, right?
why not? And I think that's the purpose of writing these stories.
Yeah.
And, it's so sad because I wanted to take a picture of that woman who gave birth. And she said, no. Just take my hands,
Yeah.
just take my hands. And I said, all right, I respect that. Because obviously, it might ruin her reputation. But she's done such a wonderful thing. So your reputation will get destroyed for doing such a wonderful thing.
Right.
It's so sad. But I think that's the purpose of writing stories. It should educate you. And maybe through reading the story, somebody else would volunteer to do something so wonderful.
Amazing. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Shannon. I am honestly taken away with all your stories and all the experiences that you bring. I mean, they're amazing. From one point when we are so happy and laughing, we are also on a serious note.
Yeah.
Then we are also educating and, educating ourselves as well as a part of the society about something which is so, I'll say, in the core of the society. So I think this is very amazing, and I'm sure everyone who has come this far to watch this episode has gained a lot of laughter and knowledge and awareness about so much of it. And I'm very happy that you actually agreed to be here and share all your experiences. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. It's good, like to remember these stories and all, because they take a lot of work. It's
Yeah.
not like you just hear it and you write it. You write it with a lot of care, a lot of patience, a lot of understanding, because this is going out to a larger audience. These stories are personal. So I'm very grateful to, talk to you, and amazing. Congratulations on your podcast, I'm
Thank you.
very, very happy that you called me.
Thank you so much. Thank you.